I don't want to be that guy though. I don't want to be, oh yeah, I was abducted too, you know. I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. Now, what's weird is, one of the things that's weird is, personally to me, when we decided to turn around and started heading back, until the time that we realized that we had missed the truck, I really don't remember the walk. He was filming the whole time with a camera. There's other footage of the camera being dropped, and you see him running away.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Shifting the Paradigm. With me today is Tex from Tex Front Porch. I am looking forward to talk about Bigfoot, Dogman, and other things in your expertise. How are you, Tex?
If I was any better, it wouldn't be legal.
So first, starting off with, what first drew you to investigate the Bigfoot phenomenon? And how long have you been investigating, talking about it, conducting research, and all of that fun stuff?
Well, you know, it all kind of stuff. I was around this stuff from the time I was a little kid, because my family is from Texarkana, Texas. So that's, the Boggy Creek Monster and everything. I was aware of that stuff before it even hit the screen. I was aware of the stories and stuff. Because all that stuff's based on true events, that whole movie. So I was aware of that stuff, but it was something that, I tell a little story about me and my little cousins. We're out in the backyard. We're hunting the Boggy Creek Monster. We're at night. We're out in the backyard with our little toy guns, and we're hunting the Boggy Creek Monster, right? My older cousin, which was 18 at the time, and we're knee high to a short frog. We're probably, 7, 8 years old. He goes out the front door, climbs up on the roof, comes across the roof into the back, on the back, jumps down in the middle of us wearing a gorilla mask. Kids like scattered like a covey of quail. I mean, it was, except for my dumb butt. I don't know why. I froze, and I'm standing there, and I'm pulling the trigger on this toy gun, pointing it while I'm screaming my head off. But that was, so I knew of this stuff at an early age, and my mother and my dad, being raised up out there, one of my mother's best friends was a victim of the Phantom Killer from Texarkana. The Phantom Killer, the town that dreaded sundown.
What's the Phantom Killer? Tell us about that.
Okay. Well, you need to look that up, because he was a serial killer out of Texarkana. And anyway, one of my mom's best friends, they were, teenagers, and she was one of his victims. But anyway, so I grew up, they were very open-minded, about stuff, because they grew up with the stories and all this kind of stuff. But it didn't really, it's not like I was hunting Bigfoot at 12 years old, okay? Nothing like that. But at 16, and we lived out in the country down here in north central Texas, outside of Fort Worth, out yonder. And at 16, I was coming home from hunting, and I had a dogman encounter. I mean, he ran across the road in front of me. I was on foot and jumped across our fence 30 feet in front of me. So that experience, and I held on to that, and Reader's Digest version of it, I walked the rest of the way home. I wasn't going to follow him into the field, but I walked the long way home. And when I got home, it took my mom and my sister about an hour to calm me down enough where I could tell them what had happened. And they didn't tell me I was crazy. They didn't tell me I was making stuff up. They did try to justify it about, well, maybe you saw this and your imagination and your fear did this. And over the years, I stuck to my guns. And finally, it was like, well, you saw what you saw. We don't know what, So I had a very good support group. I was one of the few lucky ones that have these encounters and have a good core support group that didn't tell me I was crazy. They didn't tell me I was lying. So I kind of buried that like so many people do, because it seemed to be turning a corner now where you can kind of come out with these encounters and not be completely ridiculed, but it's still out there. But back not too long ago, you didn't dare mention that stuff to anybody if you had any kind of an encounter. UFO, ghost, didn't matter. You were nuts, right? So I buried that, and I didn't really talk about it until about 2016. And I was at work, and I had some downtime, and I was thumbing through YouTube. And I started seeing these shows and stuff about Dogman. I'm like, what is Dogman? Because when I'd run into this critter, that term didn't even exist then. This was back, in the Stone Age and stuff. So I got to talking to this young woman that had a show, Dogman Diaries, and she doesn't do it anymore, but I think it's still out there. Danielle Stedman, fantastic lady. And I told her, shared my story with her. And that's where it started. She had me come on her channel, tell my story. And I ended up doing some voice work for her and stuff, some narration. And I'd never done it before. And it just kind of, here we go. I started really getting into the really, really hard, active, what they call boots on the ground. I call it butts in the brush research. About a year or so after that, and met just a phenomenal group of people that I work with. It's not work for me, my team, I guess you could call it. We call ourselves the Island of Misfit Toys. That's how we describe ourselves. And we're just one big dysfunctional family is what we are.
Like most families.
But, yeah.
I've never seen a functional family in my life.
No. There's no such thing as a normal functional family. It don't exist.
No, only in television. And even then.
Yeah. There's no Rockefeller family out there. It's just, but yeah, that's how I got into it. And I'm glad I did, because it gives me the opportunity really to do what I love doing most. And I know you hear a lot of people these days, oh, I hate people, I don't like them. I love people. I really do, because they're not boring. You meet all kinds of people, and my mom had one of her favorite hobbies was to go people watching. It's what she called it. And I'm like, and of course we didn't have Walmart then, so she goes to, she just called it people watching. That's what she would go to the store and everything. And she goes, well, shopping's just something I got to do. I go, well, I just enjoy people watching. I said, Mom. At them, I didn't know what she was talking about. I'm like, it's kind of weird, but okay.
But now it definitely makes more sense. And in this case, for you, not only do you people watch, but you also Bigfoot and Dogman watch, which is also just as interesting, if not a little bit more so.
Yeah, and I've had some encounters over the years. When I started doing this research, I ended up having 2 daylight sightings and several nighttime encounters. I've been lucky enough to take people out in the field. Several people's had their first sighting or encounter with me, and I don't credit myself for that. It's just, just a few tips you pick up just doing stuff, But if you've been doing anything with wildlife, hunting or whatever, it's pretty much the same thing. Because once you realize that these critters are curious as they are, and you feed into that, one of the things that, and it's such a hard habit to break. In fact, I did an investigation. We're in the middle of a dogman investigation, and I broke my own rule. I was out. I love going out solo. Okay, because that's when stuff happens and everything. A lot of times, but so I'm walking out in the woods by myself down this road, and we're in the middle of 1,800 acres of private land. And one of the things I try to tell people when they go out, and if you want a good chance to have an encounter, if you hear something or you see something, don't react to it. If you don't react to it, they think they're getting away with something and they'll come in a little closer normally. And it enhances that chance. If you want them to get closer, now, a lot of people don't. I've had them mess with my tent and stuff like that. So run through camp. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Have they ever damaged any of your equipment, or have you ever collected any physical evidence when encountering these creatures?
Yeah. I've never had them damage anything. I've had them nose around. We've got probably the best physical evidence that's come out of the field in years. We were out, and I was actually doing a live show up in a cemetery, because we do paranormal investigations also. There's a cemetery out in my research area, and I was up there in the middle of the cemetery by myself at night doing a show, and my safety team was down at the bottom. Now the cemetery sits up on a hill about 100 yards from where you can park your vehicles. So I'm up there, and it's unfortunately, it's a defunct cemetery. It's been disrespected. It's overgrown and all this kind of stuff. But the youngest death date there is 1924. So I'm up there and I'm in the cemetery and I'm doing a live show, and my phone dies. So my safety team, hauls butt up there to make sure I was all right. Took us about 30 minutes, and we come back down. We get back down to the trucks, and there's handprints all over our trucks. And so we start snapping pictures and looking around and stuff. Well, our trucks were parked right next to each other. And they left in such a hurry to come check on me that they left the keys in the truck. They left the truck unlocked. They left all the electronics sitting out. Thousands of dollars worth of gear. Okay. They just bailed and come up to get me. And we got back down. Nothing was missing. Okay. But the tailgate on his truck had been lowered. The Bear-proof Yeti cooler that he had in the back of his truck had been, it was locked, had been unlatched, and there was water and ice dripped over the tailgate from where something had scooped its hand in there and got, a drink like this and dribbled ice and water over the tailgate. And on the top of his cab, there were handprints just like this with water drip between them. Now we had these handprints. The best print that we've got is just phenomenal. It's a handprint and a forearm print. and all the prints are no higher than like the edge of the bed of the truck or the hood, and they're all reaching up. So whatever these things were, they were short or they were hunched over. But all the handprints were smaller than any of ours on the team. One of the first things we checked. But we could not replicate the spread between the forefinger and the thumb. It was like the thumb was located down here on the hand. Some of the prints are so good that there's dermal ridges, fingerprints left visible. Okay. Now, every human fingerprint, without exception, swirl in some form or fashion. Primates go horizontal. These were horizontal. So, and I've had fingerprints looked at, fingerprint experts looked at them. I've had wildlife biologists looked at them. They all told me the same thing. Can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you it's not human. They don't want to commit and tell me, you know, I mean, they won't do that, but they'll, well, it's not a human handprint. The hand configuration is not fully, it doesn't match any primate that we could find completely. It's like it's a cross between the only thing that the closest thing we could come to, it's more gorilla-esque in that, but it doesn't match a gorilla, but it doesn't match a human either. You know, the way it's put together. So it's like, it's a cross that, you know, it's because we tried. I mean, that's one of the big things that we try to do. We try to debunk anything that we find or, you know, gather or anything. Because if you don't...
Everything's Bigfoot, right? If you don't debunk it, everything's Bigfoot.
Yeah. Oh, and don't even get me started on that one. Whew. I went out with a guy and a bull started bellowing because he was wanting the cows across the other pasture. He was convinced that we were hearing Bigfoot. And I said, no, that's a bull. No, I know what they sound like. That's them. No. We argued for, I bet, 5 minutes. Finally, I just said, whatever, dude. We were out in the field. I'm like, and he's supposed to be this big seasoned researcher. I'm like, okay.
And then during all this time of your investigations, bringing people on the field, seeing strange things, have you observed any seasonal or geographical patterns in Bigfoot activity?
You know, I get that all the time. A lot of people, they bring up the whole migration thing. And I think it's not, because I haven't researched up in the Great White North or anything like that. I want to. But what I've found down here in the South is that they don't really follow any migration patterns. From what we can determine, I'll put it that way. From what we can determine, they stake out a territory, much like a big cat. And a big cat will stake out a territory like 150 square miles or so. You know, it's huge area. I think these critters, depending on the area that they have available, will stake out maybe even something bigger. But they tend, and like, again, much like a big cat, they'll patrol move around and circulate through that area so they don't run the game out of one particular part of it. And they'll just go through that territory. From what we've determined, that's what's going on down here because the climate allows them to. Now, in higher altitudes, I think they go up and down with the seasons and everything on the mountains and stuff. But I really don't think they travel any true migration patterns like birds or something like that. That's just my opinion.
Have you found any patterns in the sense of like more sightings in the winter than the summer or vice versa? Have you seen anything like that? Like when's the best time of year to do your investigations and hoping to see something?
Yeah, down here in the South, the cooler months tend to be where we get, our best results. But I'm not one to go. I am clearly not built for Texas heat. Okay, and I've been here all my life. I still don't like it, but it really seems to be in the cooler months when I think it's easier for them to move around. They're more comfortable, probably. You know, not to mention you don't have to worry about the bug issue as much, or even the snakes and stuff. That stuff. Those are all dormant at the winter months, the colder months. But I know I'm pretty hairy myself, and I don't like to be out when it's hot. So I can imagine what these critters are like. They just lay around. They probably don't want to do much when it's hot. But I think that's why they seem to be more active in the cooler months, because it's more comfortable.
Right. And then also in the South, you're dealing not only with heat, but also humidity. And that humidity just raises up the population of mosquitoes and all these different bugs that you're right, that we just don't necessarily see so much in the winter. And then also, what comes to mind for me is like, it would make so much sense to come down during the holiday season, right? Where there's so many leftovers, half-eaten turkeys. That's the best time to come down and get a really nice holiday meal.
Right. Well, I mean, I know you're joking, and it's the thing about it is, depending on the area that they're in, they have been known to dumpster dive. So I mean, supposedly some of the best footage came off of a casino. One was dumpster diving in a grease trap. It made a brief appearance in the public, and then it was taken down, and nobody could find it.
What's your perspective on the theory that Bigfoot has interdimensional capabilities?
I'm not one to disregard or put down anybody's experience or encounter. Okay, just because I haven't had that experience or that encounter doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I have not personally seen any evidence towards that. Okay, the first time that I do see one materialize out of a tree, or a portal, or mind speak to me, I'll be the first one waving my woo flag. But I haven't had those experiences yet. Everything that I've encountered, everything I've experienced points towards them being a physical creature.
Let's say a portal did open right in front of you and a Bigfoot walks out. Would you walk through that portal or no?
Curiosity killed the cat. And I actually know some people that caught what appears to be a portal on thermal, and two of their members walked.
Yeah, Trey Hudson.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Is that who you're referring to?
Yep.
Yes. Remarkable.
Yeah. And you look at the health of the entire team.
Tell us about it. I've had Trey on. He's told me, but for those that haven't seen that interview, give us a summary on that.
Well, every member of that team has come down with some kind of chronic illness, and two of them have passed away. Grumpy was the most recent one. He just recently passed away a couple of months ago. And Grumpy was a fantastic guy, man. You meet him once, you just fall in love with him. But the two that did go through this portal are the two that's passed away. So, it's next time you have Trey on, talk to him about it. Really drill down into it. It's So that's like, but odds are, yeah, my dumb butt would walk right through it.
It's definitely a catch-22. There's that fear of the health consequences that Trey's team has encountered firsthand. But there's also that it's so hard to satisfy curiosity. What's on the other side? What's going on? And it's like they say, grass is always greener on the other side. And we don't know until we get there. So I can definitely understand that internal battle inside of anyone that would see a portal and have those exact thoughts, but also knowing the previous stories of others that have encountered it and it didn't go well for them. That's the part that's disappointing that we don't hear very often because there's very few public stories of people walking in through portals. And we're very lucky that Trey Hudson has been public with his encounter. He even shared it on Discovery Plus not too long ago, one of the latest TV shows. But we need to hear about all the perspectives. Not everything is rainbows and unicorns. There's some pretty dark stuff to this. And it's just being knowledgeable, and that's going to be our only armor that we have. Knowledge and street smarts, or in this case, like nature smarts.
Yeah, you're right. And it's like if you ran across, stairways that they run into out in the woods. You gonna go up that stairway?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I am. Because I'm not that smart. But I mean, I get my team grounded me because my team and my wife found out about at the same time that, well, my team knew, but my wife had no idea that I was going out for a few years when I first started researching by myself and would spend several days and nights out in the field by myself. And she thought I was dragging somebody else, my buddies along with me. It's not like I was trying to keep it a secret. It just never came up, She just assumed that I had somebody with me when I was going camping. And it's not Bigfoot research, folks. It's camping. Let's be honest. It's just camping. But my team set me down one time. We were going to have a meeting. And evidently, they had already had a meeting about the meeting that we were fixing to have, but they had the meeting about me. And I didn't know it. So it became more of an intervention than anything else. But they grounded me. We don't want you going out there and doing that by yourself anymore. And I wasn't very happy about it, but I knew that the concern came from a place of love, and I wasn't going to put them in the position of something happening to me and them having to deal with that on their conscience. So I quit going solo. Now once in a while I'll wander off, but but then I was griping to my wife. I said, well, I guess I won't be going camping by myself anymore. She goes, what do you mean camping by yourself? I said, when I go camping up in Oklahoma. You been going by yourself? She was not happy.
Who would be? Seeing their loved one going into the wilderness on their own, especially knowing their interests. I mean, there are so many stories of people going missing. I can definitely understand her perspective,
yeah.
but I can also get yours of like solitude is so necessary from time to time. And there's also instances where when you have your own experience by yourself, you have a higher chance than being with a group of people and seeing something. I get it. I do. But it's like safety first.
Well, that's true. That's true. But, I grew up doing this by myself, going camping and hunting and fishing and everything, trapping and by myself. This was just another day to me. I mean, it really was.
What if you're going to get abducted, Tex, right? You see a Bigfoot and then bam, a flying saucer comes down. who's gonna vet for you? Who's gonna take the photographs when you go up there, right? You got to have someone at the very least just as witness testimony. And then with that being said, in your research, have you come across any correlation between Bigfoot and UFOs?
Not that I've seen. I'll put it that way. I did have a time loss incident when we was out in the field. Me and the guy that was with me, we lost several hours, and we were out Bigfoot researching whatever. But we have no ill effects from it. Honestly, obviously it was a weird situation, but we got out in the field about 8:30 in the morning, went down in the river bottoms, and we're walking, doing our thing, and he's filming. And that's another thing. I'm not one to film, really. I'll let somebody else do that. But he's filming, and we never left each other's hip. That's a very important note. So we turned around. We said, well, because we had to pick his kids up and and all that kind of stuff. And we started getting hungry. We was like, well, it's probably about noon. And I make it a point not to look at my phone or a watch or anything, because when I get out there, I don't care what time it is. I can tell by the sun if it's time to go turn around and go back, right? So we started getting hungry and was like, well, let's go back and have some lunch, and then we'll go get the kids and all that kind of stuff. All right, so we turned around. Well, we missed the path that went back up to my truck, but we didn't discover that until about a quarter mile after we'd passed it. And I was kind of new to this area, so I really didn't know it as well as he did. But there was definite landmarks that you had to walk right by that marked this path. And he knew the area like the back of his hand. He'd been out there for a few years, and we just totally missed it. But we didn't realize it until, like I said, we was like, man, what shouldn't we should have come across the path up to the truck. And we started looking, and we're looking at, because I don't recognize any of this stuff. And so we turned around, went back, and then we found it. We had missed it by a quarter of a mile. Now, what's weird is, one of the things that's weird is, personally to me, when we decided to turn around and started heading back, until the time that we realized that we had missed the truck, I really don't remember the walk. Okay. But another weird thing is, he was filming the whole time with a camera, like a little camcorder. And when you film with those things and you stop and stop and then record, stop and then record, stop and record, the files are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? When he went to review the footage, they were all scrambled. The files were all scrambled up. So, but then when he did review the footage, somebody or something at one point had the camera and was sprinting through the bottoms where we were, and would turn around 360 degrees, and neither one of us were in sight. Now, there is supposedly another piece of footage, and I found this out on Rob's show, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, when I was doing a show with him, and we were talking about this, and two other people that knew the guy said, well, there's other footage of the camera being dropped, and you see him running away. Okay. I had this this incident remote viewed by Jessica Jones, and she had said that we were both abducted, and that We had both tried to. They evidently got me first, and I put up a fight, and because I wasn't real happy about it. But and he tried to get away, but when so there's a lot of stuff that clicked. I don't want to be that guy though. I don't want to be. Oh yeah, I was abducted too. I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. I have no memory of it. I had Danielle Diva, look at it. She's a medium. Had her look at it. She came back, told me basically the same thing that Jessica did. And they didn't. In fact, that's how me and Danielle met. I was on Spaced Out Radio, and she was a co-host. And I just really mentioned in passing that I had a time loss incident. And she goes, "Stop right there. Don't tell me anything else." And she mentioned things that there's no way she could have known about the incident. She goes, "This is what I'm picking up." I'm like, yeah, okay. And that kind of floored me a little bit. So I got it from two different sources at two totally different times. Pretty much the same information. So I don't know. Was I? I don't know. I guess. But have I ever seen, Bigfoot being beamed up or down from a flying saucer? No. Do I think it happens? Absolutely. But not because they're aliens. I think they're being abducted just like we are and studied. They're a heck of a lot more interesting than we are. Why wouldn't they? I mean,
Interesting in what way?
Well, I mean, they're an amazing. I hesitate to call them animals because, but we're animals too. So they're an amazing, phenomenal animal. They really are, and if they're so elusive that with all of our high technology, we have a hard time finding them. Okay. So if they're able to live around us and be so elusive, and I think, I guess it's just, it's human nature. But I think, I find, just nature, any animal in general is just, is fascinating to me. Wildlife in general is. I try to have a really deep appreciation for it because the way we're running, we ain't going to have it around very long if we keep going the way we are. But I think they're fascinating. I think they're majestic creatures. I really do. Because if you ever see one move through the brush, that we have a hard time picking our way through very slowly, and they move through it like it's nothing, and they move like a dancer. It's just mind blowing. It really is. If you ever see one that you're standing there and you're looking at a stump, and then the stump walks off. It's just they do stuff. They're masters of their environment. They really, really are. I don't think they have personally. I don't think they actually turn into a stump. The incident I'm talking about was at night, but I've never seen an 8-foot portion of a tree just turn around and walk off. So if we're discounting tree beards,
But I'm actually not familiar with the story that you're referring to about the stump and the Bigfoot and the Bigfoot turning into the stump. Can you kind of walk me through it?
Oh, well, I mean, there's different people out there that they don't necessarily turn into a tree or anything. I just said that off the cuff, but there is stories of them going in entering trees and exiting trees, you know. Now some very dear friends of mine did capture footage of something materializing out of a tree. But it doesn't look like a Bigfoot. I call it a Jawa is what it looks like. It looks like a dark hooded figure that materialized out of a tree and in that graveyard that I was talking about earlier. But there's a lot of freaky stuff that goes on in this world.
Is that video public?
Yeah.
Where can we find it?
Over on, they just changed the name. It's called Conversations with the Curious. And they have that video on their channel.
We'll have to look at it. I got to see it. I haven't seen it.
It's pretty crazy.
In the South, have you come across any areas that are similar to Skinwalker Ranch, where you have all this strange phenomenon taking place of like UFO encounters, cryptids, the paranormal, and really just this amalgam of unique sightings in a specific area?
Yeah, my research area.
What have you come across?
We had what haven't we came across? We're talking about the same area that I've had these daylight Bigfoot sightings, nighttime encounters, the paranormal stuff I was talking about. We found the handprints in the same area. That's where my missing time incident happened. We've had, I've recorded disembodied voices, EVPs. I mean, it's just the list goes on. I've got disembodied growls that I never heard. That I was at the bottom of the cemetery. I was getting ready to go up there by myself. Excuse me. And I've got my recorder going in my pocket, and I'm getting my stuff, pulling my stuff out of the truck. And for about 5 minutes while I'm walking around the truck, you hear this growling going off. It's like, sounds like it's right in my mic. And I never heard it until I played the recording back. I'm about halfway up the trail, and you hear a female voice right in my mic go, "Come on." The different stuff. And one of the weird things that we've came across that Trey has come across, they've came across at Blind Frog Ranch, Skinwalker Ranch, is radiation readings. Just odd radiation readings around. We picked up a radiation reading at up in the cemetery again. There's so much weird stuff that happens up there that it was like in a 2x2 area above a grave, but only at night. I know, right? I mean, figure that one out. I don't know. I was at the San Antonio conference last year. Yeah, last year. And I actually got to talk to that old boy that manages Skinwalker Ranch. I waited till after the conference was over and he did his spiel and everything, and we were all cleaning up. And I said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a little bit?" And he said, "Sure." So we sat down and had a 20 or 30 minute conversation. And I said, I'm gonna be upfront and honest with you. I've never watched an episode of your show." But he goes, "Well, that's all right." I said, "Well, I'll tell you." I said, "The reason I want to talk to you is because I'm having to run into the same crap you are out in my research area." And we had a good conversation. And I asked him a couple of pertinent questions, just from a research aspect of things, because we're trying to figure stuff out just like they are. They don't have any more answers than we do. I mean, they really don't. I know I'm sure they do on the TV show, but no.
It's really remarkable just to hear across so many researchers in different parts of the world how many times they come across areas in nature that are so similar to Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch. And the thing is that they're not getting attention just because they're not being publicized, right?
Right.
Unlike these TV shows, but it's happening all over the world. And the question is why? What's going on in these certain areas across the planet that's just accumulating all this strangeness versus any other parts of the world? Do you possibly have an answer on that or speculations?
I don't know about an answer, but I got plenty of them. One of my theories that I think holds the most water. Speaking of frogs, got one in my throat. I think it has to do with ley lines. Because if you look at an LBL, Land Between the Lakes, is another place that has all these different phenomena. But if you look at a map of ley lines, and ley lines move, folks, they do, they shift, but that could explain a lot of stuff too if they shift through the area. But if you look at all these different places, these ley lines cross where these places are. And I think that may have something to do with it. That's close as I've came to a possible explanation as to why. A lot of people think it's the 33rd or the 66th parallel. And it is convenient that a lot of this stuff runs, a lot of these areas are on the 33rd and the 66th parallel. So, is it coincidence? I don't know.
In your world, do you believe in coincidences?
I think there's a certain point to where it quits being coincidences. I mean, you can only explain, a skeptic can only explain somebody, well, that was just a coincidence. Oh, that was a coincidence. Oh, that was a coincidence. I know this happened to you 6 times, but that's just a coincidence. Come on now. It's got to stop being a coincidence at some point, right?
I hear you on that one. And how has your understanding of these phenomena evolved since you began investigating?
When I first started, I was strictly flesh and blood. All y'all woo people are crazy, and and all this kind of stuff. But I'm more open-minded. I haven't really changed my mind. I think we're still dealing with. Well, I'll tell you. I think personally that we're dealing with more phenomenon than just Bigfoot. Okay. If you want to get into the whole mind speak thing, we can get into that, because that worries me.
Why?
Okay.
Why does it worry you?
Because I don't think it's Bigfoot. Paranormal 101, spirits are going to lie to you. Okay. They pretend to be loved ones. They pretend to be kids. They pretend to be, and why? To get their foot in the door. Right? If they know our minds to be able to do that, why wouldn't they know our minds to know that we really, really want to have an interaction with this Bigfoot creature? Oh, I'll telepathically speak to him pretending to be Bigfoot, because, and I've got great friends that I love and respect that claim to mind speak with these creatures. I'm not telling them they're not. I just want them to be careful, because I'm afraid that this is not Bigfoot mind speaking. It's something else trying to get its foot in the door. Okay. And once it has an invitation, it's really hard to turn that off. That's my concern. To me, it's no different than opening the door with a Ouija board. I know I'm gonna take a lot of heat. Just point them my way, Cristina. It's all right. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying this is not it, but
being cautious. That's what it's about. I think that's what you're really trying to talk about. Is just being cautious and skeptical, and don't open doors that you don't know where they're going to lead because you don't know the consequences.
Right. Well, 10 out of 10 times when you ask somebody, how do you know it's Bigfoot that you're talking to? They give you one of two answers. They told me it was, or I just know. That's not good enough. You know, are you going to take the same? That gets you into that kind of trust will get you into trouble. You know, so. And I know people that have started doing this and their health has declined.
That's an interesting correlation, Tex.
Yeah. I mean, and there again, is it coincidence? I don't know, possibly. But the time matches up.
Are you seeing a consistency with these health effects on these different people that you've spoken to, or are they different health ailments?
Different ailments. They range from physical to, you know, depression and everything else. Like I said, it could be all coincidental, possibly. You know, I actually hope it is. You know, and I really haven't gathered enough data to say this correlates and everything. It's bad enough to even suggest to somebody that what they enjoy and interacting with is not what they think it is. You know, because it's hard to accept, you know, when you've got something that's feeding you information that most are not privy to, that it could be something that may not have your best interest at heart. I'll put it that way. Like you said, I'm just saying, be careful.
Ending it on a heavy note, but also showing that while we love this topic so much, the strange and the mysterious, there's a lot of darkness to it. And you always have to be careful, but also tell people your experiences so that they can always compare notes with you, because data is so important. And right now, Tex, you are getting ready for your next Bigfoot convention. Walk us through that. What's going on? What do you have planned?
Well, we have jumped into that arena, and that, like I said, the whole island of misfit toys, Blondes and Booze, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, Texas Front Porch, Danielle Diva, Our Paranormal World, Paranormal Among Us. Like I said, there's so many people involved, and we co-host on each other's channels, and I mean, you know, it's just a big dysfunctional family. But we've decided we're going to do our own conference. And it's going to be in Richmond, Virginia. It's called Crossing Realms, because it's not just a Bigfoot conference. We've got people from the cryptid world, the UFO world, the paranormal world.
When is it going to take place?
It is September 19th and 20th in Richmond, Virginia. It's out there on Eventbrite. We started selling tickets yesterday.
And that link, it will be in the description box below. Tex, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was such a pleasure to hear all your incredible stories and your research as well. Where can people find you online to stay up to date with your research?
I just do my little YouTube thing. So Texas Front Porch, and it's TEX''S because it's my front porch. So yeah, just on YouTube. And well, anywhere you can find a podcast, we do that too.
And that link will also be in the description box below. Tex, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe, as I do 3 videos right here every single week, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.